What if burnout isn't the breakdown? It's actually an invitation. For years, Renee Devore followed the expected path. She rose through the ranks of education, became a principal, had stability, success, but somewhere inside she felt this quiet ache. This cannot be it. And it felt really off. And she had this overwhelming anxiety and panic and unfulfillment. And she made a radical choice and she dropped everything and moved to Mexico. And that year became her reset, return to peace and possibility and purpose. But she went back and forth and she dipped her toes back in education and really had to learn to trust herself that her path is somewhere else. And that path would open up as long as she took the first little step forward. So today she helps women reinvent their lives and careers through masterminds and retreats. She's big on LinkedIn, so you need to go over there and check her out. She is also such a light. She just generates this energy of connection and comfort, and I cannot wait for you to be friends with her. So, can't wait for you to jump inside the episode. We'll see you inside. Renee, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you.
Oh, I can't wait till we get into your story and your human design. But before we start that, we're going to play a little game. And this is my ROI of Peace app. And this is the page where we have the inner fears, the 12 ways that we sabotage ourselves over and over and over again. So now you're going to choose a number between 1 and 12, and then we're going to do that visualization story together.
Ooh, I love that. How about number 6?
Number 6. Okay, let me grab number 6. Okay. Number 6 is the overthinker.
Ooh, girl, that is me right there.
Isn't that? Oh my gosh. Okay, this is so funny because every time I do this, people are like, that's the one I needed. That is so hilarious. I love it. Okay, everyone listening, thank you for being here too. And here we go. So everybody, if you're in a seated position, you can go ahead and close down your eyes. And in these few minutes, you're investing in peace, and that investment starts working right now. The overthinker believes that if you analyze everything, you can avoid making mistakes and pain. But that's a lie. You don't need every answer before you move. You can trust yourself and you can trust the process. We'll let the story begin. There once was a woman who lived inside a vast library. The shelves reached the sky, filled with books she had written herself. Each one began with the same words, "What if?" She read them day and night. What if I fail? What if they leave? What if I'm not ready? What if this happens? Every question led to another. The more she read, the heavier her chest felt. The library was safe and predictable, but it was also quiet, airless, and dim. One afternoon, she reached for another volume. A small book fell from the highest shelf and landed at her feet. It was blank except for the title, "What If It Works?" She opened it. The pages shimmered, not with words, but with light. She blinked, and for a moment she saw something beyond the library walls. A golden path winding through a meadow, sunlight spilling over it. Her hands trembled. She wanted to go, but her mind whispered, "What if I get lost? What if it's a trap? What if things don't go well?" She looked back at the shelves, the endless what-ifs that had kept her safe but small. Then she took the blank book in her hand, held it to her heart, and walked towards the light. The door opened easily. The outside air smelled like possibility. And for the first time, she realized she didn't have to finish every story, every thought before she began moving forward. She didn't have to analyze everything before trusting in herself. What if thoughts keep looming and looping in your mind? What is one what if that feels hopeful instead of fearful? All right. You can take a deep breath and open your eyes if you've closed them. Renee, what thoughts or feelings did you have going through that?
Oh gosh, it just reminds me so much, probably more of the past version of me. I don't feel like I don't do as much overthinking now because I've really leaned into the surrender and also recognize that heading into those challenges are often where the greatest growth happens. But boy, did I always try to perfect the plan before entering into it, right? So it's really just that shift in mindset of not what if all the things could fail, but what if it all works out? What if it all works out,
Oh,
right? So what a beautiful visualization. And just a reminder that just that tweak in the way that we think about situations can really just set us up for so much more success than we probably have
yes.
ever imagined. Yeah,
Yeah.
glad we chose that one.
Oh,
That's a
yeah. How does, like, I know with overthinking, it's like there's so much fear that goes in with overthinking, right? So, how did you shift? Because it feels in your body like the stress and the anxiety, of
Mhm.
all those overthinking. How did you, what's one way that you shifted out of that?
I think
So,
honestly it's been my spiritual journey, to be quite honest with you.
mm-hmm.
When I learned about human design, right? When I learned about human design, when I learned about my soul's operating system, when I understood that there is a higher power, a higher energy that's in play, that just isn't about me, that the plan is already in place for me, that I didn't need to grip tighter in order for the outcomes to occur in the way that I wanted them to. They were going to occur however they were meant to occur. Right. And so learning that surrender piece as a part of my journey has been really powerful for me because, of course, I can get caught up. That doesn't mean that I still don't I still overthink
Yes.
and there are still things that scare me. But I think always coming back to this notion that the plan is already in place for me and there is no wrong turn. There is no
Oh,
wrong turn. And every turn has already been designed prior to me entering into this body. Every turn I take in life is an opportunity. And I want as many opportunities and as many doors to open as possible rather than sitting here stuck in my own way of limiting any of those opportunities or any of those doors opening, right? It's just the difference
yes.
in perspective for sure.
Yes, I love that. There is no wrong turn. And I found that too. I found that like I can figure out anything and if I believe in myself, if I
Mhm.
believe like in the outcome is a positive outcome or is an outcome that's for me, Even
Mhm.
hard things, I'm like with my MS diagnosis, I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity to like advocate for myself. This is my opportunity to believe in myself even more and to lean into my human design even more. But
Mhm.
not saying that there wasn't a time where, and there have been times where I'm like, what am I doing? This is awful. Like we're
Yeah.
human, so we're going to feel that way. But also recognizing that what's for us is coming towards us and the great things that God and the universe has to bring for our favor,
Yeah.
like he's right there cheering us on and
Mm.
giving us the good stuff to get through all the things that we're going through. And I think the same thing with that loop of overthinking and worrying and fears and all those things, it's like it's it's tapping into peace within our body and kind of just working on that pattern over and over again, pouring light into
Yeah.
that darkness,
Yes. Yes. As we
Yes.
talk about the light just starts to
Yes.
shine Yeah, I
Yes.
think it's just a reminder that everything is happening for us and not to
Yes.
us.
Yes.
And so this notion of, um, I think when a whisper comes into our heart, this is one of the things when we talk about human design and generator and having an crown chakra, something that I've had to learn. When something comes into my heart, I get to make the decision of whether or not that's meant for me or if that's somebody else's. Right. And so, really kind of tapping into the heart space as opposed to sitting up here has also been a really valuable lesson for me in my journey of recognizing what's meant for me and what's not meant for me. And if my heart is tugging at me, then I'm like, I just need to go and explore it. And then that idea of there are no wrong turns. So even if you go and explore and it doesn't work out for you, it's not a wrong turn. It's an
Yes.
opportunity for you to learn more about yourself and what is right for you.
Yes. Yeah. That opportunity to learn what's right and to not take it personally. I think there's so often times my past self took things personally, especially I was like, you should work all day because I'm not a generator. I'm a
Mm,
projector and my ebbs and
mhm,
flows of energy. I was so
mhm,
tough on myself about that. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You can see all these people working from morning till night. They don't need a nap. They don't feel
mm,
tired, you know?
mm.
And I was so judgmental on myself. And I think that's what's been so freeing is to validate my soul with what I actually need
Yes,
and to lean into those gifts that I was born with and how I operate best
yes.
and two like how my human design has helped me to support what I need, you know?
Mm,
And all the things. So with your and I love your human design and I love like the generator self. And so with being like as you were going through take us back, I guess, in your life when everything looked like successful on paper. You are principal, you are leading others, educator, but inside something felt off. What
mm.
was that season like for you?
I think something fell off from the moment I stepped into my career. I
Oh,
mean, I can now look at it and look back. So I know now, after 25 years in this career and being out of it for a few years now, that I really entered into my career seeking approval from my dad. My dad was a teacher, and I think that I was just trying to find a way to be closer to him and have a connection with him. But when I look at my trajectory, there were a few times in my career where I tried to exit. My first one was when I'd already only been in education for 3 years. And I went and got my like life insurance certification. I don't know. I thought I was going to make all this great money in insurance. And then I sat in a cubicle for 2 days. And I was like, that is so not me. And then I fell back in education. And along that journey, I was always like, is there something else that I could be doing? Because I just don't love it. And really, when I got into being a principal, teaching wasn't bad because I was kind of left alone in my own space and I could kind of do my own thing and be with the kids and really spend quality time like giving them the best of me. When I became a principal, that changed the trajectory of everything because now I felt like I was on an island. I felt like I was, all eyes were on me and there was so much judgment on me
mm-hmm.
and the pressure became so intense, right? And
Oh.
I think about like my first year. So I became a principal when I was 32 years old. And I remember going into the doctor and they told me I had generalized anxiety disorder. I also had depression. So they started me on Xanax, they started me on antidepressants, and that didn't go away until I left my career. So I say that so I know now that I was never really meant to be in that career to begin with. It really surfaced from wanting a connection from my dad. But then there came a point in my career where I was really burned out. I was crispy and I literally was like and here's the thing. I didn't have the resources or the tools because all I could think about was like, well, maybe it's the type of schools that I've been working in. Maybe I need to go try a different type of school,
Yes.
right? I need to go try a different type of environment. And so I constantly was looking to escape. But this time I had taken a vacation to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And so I had already said I wasn't coming back, but I thought that I was going to go just into a different environment. But in between that, I had gone to Mexico on vacation. I had met somebody who was taking a 3-month hiatus from his job. And I remember coming back going, why can't I get that? Like, I want to just be
Yes.
able to have that flexibility to leave my job for three
Yes.
months, right? So I came back and I remember sprinkling this idea into my office staff, my secretaries at the time. I was like, would it be crazy if I left this year and I moved to Mexico? And you don't know how people are going to respond to that.
Yes.
And they were like, oh my God, that would be amazing. We would totally come to visit you. And I was like, kind of taken back. I was like, okay, maybe that wasn't what I was expecting, but it was almost an affirmation to me that there's a possibility that this could be something for me. So I kind of let it sit with me, right, for a little while. So, cut that story short, I ended up moving to Mexico. I sold everything I owned. I moved to Mexico for a year. I just wanted to take time away from my career and that identity that
Yes.
had been built up for so long. So many people equated me to being a principal, and I couldn't
Yeah.
escape it. So I just wanted to be able to walk through my days without that title attached to me. So moving to Mexico where nobody cares about what you do, right? All they
Yes.
care about is like saying good morning, hello, like eating churros and drinking tequila on the beach or whatever. So that was beautiful, but I fell back into what was comfortable. And because I didn't have the tools or the resources or the timing wasn't right, I don't know. But it was the beginning of my transformation, that time away, because I was able to see a part of me that I hadn't been able to see when I was in
Mhm.
it. So I fell back into education. It was right before the pandemic, but I knew within a
Oh.
week of going back into that seat, I had made the wrong decision. I knew it, but then I was stuck. The pandemic came and I was stuck. I was there for another couple years, getting the school district through the pandemic. And then in
Oh.
October of 2021, I had a panic attack. And I knew that that was the universe's way of saying, listen, it's a panic attack now. And if you don't get out, it's going to be something much worse. And so that was just my signal. There were so many whispers in my career. There was so much tension building up. I was trying to escape in so many different ways. And finally, the panic attack that came was literally, although it wasn't severe, right? I didn't have to go to the hospital. It was enough of a wake up call for me to say, it's time. You've got to go figure
Yes.
it out. And that's what I did. I left my career in 2022.
Wow, that's amazing. So, what would you tell to listeners who are in that same position? They're like, this career is just not working for me. This is not where I'm meant to be. They can
Mhm.
feel it, but they're just like, well, I don't know. I'm too scared to shift, or I'm too scared to make a change because that's scary. What would you tell them?
I think it's so I hear a couple things when you ask that question. And the first thing is that number one, it's naming the fear. What are you
Mm,
fearful of? Right?
yes.
Are you fearful of failure? Are you fearful of not feeling worthy? Are you fearful of rejection? Like if you are feeling stuck in your career,
Mhm.
for me, um, I think that there was a fear of rejection. I think there was a
Yes.
fear of worthiness. Could I do something beyond what I had known for 25 years? I think there was a lot of fear that was attached. So I think the first thing is like naming the fear and getting comfortable with it.
Yes.
I think when you can name the fear about why you're not getting stuck. So I think for a lot of women that I work with specifically, I think it's a fear of worthiness, but I also think there's a fear of money, not having that financial security. So, somebody who is in that position, for me, I was so used to just taking the leap, but there was something that was keeping me stuck. I kept going and then coming back, going and coming back. So, there was something in me, which is a great question because I actually haven't really explored this in depth for
Yes.
myself, that kept me coming back to that comfort zone. And I was
Mm,
miserable in the comfort zone because it wasn't that comfortable. I'd say if there are people who are in that position that I was in, it's really getting clear with what are your fears about taking the leap, right? What's keeping
mhm.
you stuck? I think asking the questions of like, what are you really good at? Right? What are your strengths? What are you really good at? What do other people say you're really good at? I think the question of what do you love most about what you currently do? And I think the other question is like, how do you want to go out and impact the world? Right. And
Yeah.
so I think getting clear with the answers to those questions, getting clear with what your fears are, getting answers to all of that and sitting with that for a little while, And then I also tell my clients, I said, then it's about making some micro moves, right? It's these little short movements that begin to put out the energy to the universe. It's like, okay, I'm getting ready. And the universe begins, that great God, source, creator, whatever you believe in, begins to feed that energy back to you. And it's like when I went to, Mexico on vacation and I came back and I sprinkled this idea of moving to Mexico out to my office staff and they were like, oh my God, yes. I was like,
Yeah.
that was an affirmation back to me that I wasn't crazy in my idea. Right. So I
Yes.
would say, for anybody who's stuck, that's a beautiful place to begin is name the fears and then answer those three questions.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned this like micro steps because that's what I talk about in personal development. I'm like these little micro betterments, these little micro changes, and that's what I think everything if that seems large can just be like let's just do one little step
Yeah.
forward. Let's just do one little thing like dip our toes in the water, play around with it. Like feel into what this could be. And I think along with your story, this burnout can oftentimes feel like a failure, like those anxiety, like, oh, I can't handle it. But I really feel like it's an awakening call.
Hmm.
Burnout is an invitation, not an
Hmm.
ending, right?
Hmm. Hmm. No, I definitely feel like, first of all, if you're in burnout, you've
Yeah.
waited too long, right?
Yes. Yeah.
There have been so many whispers along the way. This is what I felt about the panic attack. There were
Yes.
so many whispers along the way. And of course, I can see more clearly now in the seat that I'm sitting in looking back, on that trajectory. I can see that. But there were so many whispers along the way that leads you to that place, and so many places where you ignored yourself, oftentimes because you are sitting in so much fear, which is why I think it's really important to name those fears. So, yeah, if you've
I
gotten to burnout, you've let yourself get too far.
Yeah, and your story proves that burnout was a message and we can all have that message. We can have that message of burnout is a message and we either get to listen to it or keep pushing through it. But I don't want a life that's like full of burnout and misery and awfulness.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Where's it costing you elsewhere in your life? I mean, look
Yes.
around at the rest of your life and the people that you're surrounded by, your family, your friends, right? Colleagues. Everybody else is also impacted by that feeling that you are carrying of burnout. Because if you're burned out at work, more than likely you're lacking patience, empathy, compassion, understanding, and other aspects of your life, which doesn't go very far in relationships, right? Relationship with your kids,
Yes.
relationship with your partners, relationship with your family, friends. So
Yeah.
burnout doesn't just impact you, it impacts also all of the people who you love and respect and want to be there for around you.
Yes, yeah, that connection. And with you being a generator, you like to make things better and better. And so you're like, I'm going to figure out how to make this situation that seems
Mm.
awful better and better and better. And there's so many other parts of your human design chart that really tell a story of how you can have a life that's better, filled with more joy and more ease. Now, for everybody listening who's like, I don't even know what human design is. So let's make sure we're on the same page. So, human design, if you've ever, is like a personality test. It's like Enneagram and the Strength Finders, but it takes it 100 levels deeper. It's based on your time, date, and place of birth. And these are the gifts that you were born with. It's a map of your soul, of how your energy works, how your intuition, how you make decisions best. And there's typically 35 to 40 parts on a person's chart. And we're going to touch on a few of those today. So, what I want to look at is your inner authority. Now, your inner authority is how you make decisions best. And
Mm.
the mantra for this is my gut knows the truth before my mind does. So you have a gut inner authority. So your
Mhm.
gut holds the truth of literally what you should do next in your body. It's not up here in your brain. It's not on spreadsheets. It's this physical response of this yes. And a yes feels like expansion and a buzz and a tingling and a really distinctive yes.
Mm.
And a no feels like a blah or a should or a I feel like I should do this. It's a responsibility. I'm not really feeling in line with this. Now, How have you, because you've worked with your human design a lot before, how have you checked in with your gut before making decisions?
Well, I'll tell you, when I learned about my human design, I legitimately was like, that makes so much sense, especially with my sacral authority, right? That's my intuition, my gut is. I was like, oh, I'm a hell yes or a hell no. There is no maybe in my world. And it was the tension in my career, because I was sitting in that maybe so much. I knew what the right decision was for me.
Yes.
I knew my gut was telling me either I needed to move forward with this or I needed to step back from it. But I often was playing in that people pleasing world of let me get everybody else's ideas and bring consensus together. So I was sitting in that gray area, which I'm not a gray area kind of girl. I'm a black and white kind of girl. I'm a yes or no. So once I learned that and I started really tapping into the immediate feeling of like, uh-huh, that's meant for you, or no, you don't feel like that. I legitimately just started training myself to go with whatever my initial reaction was. If it was like, that doesn't feel right, then it was a no. If it's yeah, that feels right to me, that feels good, that feels aligned, then I would be a yes. Right. And even if that yes would lead me into like no man's land, again, there are no wrong turns. It's an opportunity to step into learning what's meant for me or what's not meant for me. But I make every decision from my sacral authority now. So I am either a hell yes or a hell no. There is no in between for me.
Yes, and that deep conviction and trust in your body, that's something that you've learned over listening through that. So before, when you weren't listening, and you're like, "Oh, I should probably say yes to this thing." So you ignored your body and you said yes anyway. What did that feel like and what happened?
Well, that's the tension, right? That's what led me to a panic attack. That was me pleasing everybody else, me taking care of everybody else and not taking care of myself. Um, that that not listening to my gut or my intuition is what led me to burnout, right? Is what led me to leaving, coming back, leaving, coming back, and not following my gut, not following my intuition to its full authority because I got scared, right? I didn't know what I was going to do. So I think knowing that has been such a game changer for me. And I think especially for me as I build a
Yes.
business, and I now have creative authority and I can go a lot of different directions. It's really being clear what's meant for me and what's not meant for me because when you're building a business, I mean, there's a lot of noise out there. And so being able to really grab hold of your inner authority and get really clear on the foundation, which is you. You are the foundation, right? Your authority becomes the foundation and how you make decisions moving forward has been such a difference for me. So I'm so grateful. It was my first business coach who taught me about human design, and this was about 3.5 years ago. And it made all the difference for me.
Yeah, and it's learning to trust yourself and learning to
Yeah.
trust in that yeses, even when the path in front of you is like, I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't know what that's
Mhm.
going to do. And that, I think this inner authority is the best business plan ever.
Mm.
Because there are so many different ways to build a business. There really are. But what's right for you is what's right for you. And you have to know and find that out inside of you and tap into that. I always teach my clients, I'm like, let's look at how you're making decisions the best for you.
Mhm.
You have two roads you're going to go down. Which one is the way that feels right in your body? And that's
Mhm.
the one you're going to do, even if it makes no sense whatsoever?
Yeah.
So the strategy for this is start noticing your body's signals, noticing the yeses, noticing the nos, and really evaluating how that feels, and then don't overanalyze it. That
Mhm.
overanalyzing gets us every time, and we're human beings. So, but your body is the most accurate compass available.
Mm.
Another part on your human design chart that stood out to me is when we're looking at your centers on that body graph part, and we're looking at the green centers. The green centers mean that you have those gifts all the time. The white centers means those gift comes in ebbs and flows. one of your green centers is your GPS center. It's called the G center, but I call it the GPS center because it's
Mm-hmm.
really housing your ability to know the direction you need to go to into with this inner knowing. So the mantra for this is, I trust I'm always where I'm meant to be. Because you have this inner knowing that's just identifying your pathway, your direction. It's consistent, it's grounded, and it's also really magnetic. You don't need to chase clarity. It's already inside of you. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need an outward thing telling you where to go. You just have to listen inside to know the exact steps. Your internal compass is always pointing you to where you're supposed to go and where you're aligned to go. When have you felt certain about your direction versus when have you felt unclear?
Well, I think the lack of clarity was in my career, right? As the fears were dominating my thinking then.
Yes.
I definitely think building a business. So there's been a couple times. So there's the first time it just came to me. I woke up. This is what happens is I wake up or something happens. It just pops in my head, this idea. And I've had to learn, like I said, I think earlier in this episode, I had to learn what's mine and what isn't mine because I also have an open crown chakra. And so with that open crown, that open head, there I am like ideas just come to me and they're not always necessarily mine. They might be meant for somebody else. So there was a point in time where I also was taking in all of these ideas and I was like a squirrel, like all over the place with all of these different ideas. And I'm like, I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. I need to be doing this. And I was like, I almost felt like I was a manifesting generator, right? I wasn't necessarily just a generator. I was like a manifesting, which, manifesting generators want their hands in a whole bunch of different pots. I think things started to get really defined for me when I took this first really scary step in my business. I woke up one morning, this is where I was going before. I woke up one morning and I had seen all these people on LinkedIn talking about like women talking about wanting to get together and meet in real life one day. And I woke up one morning, I was like, it literally was like, you're being called to bring these people together. And I was like, okay. So I put it out on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, if you could meet up somewhere, where would you want to meet? Austin, Boston, Chicago, or Nashville? And I had like 90 votes. And, at that time, I probably had like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 followers. I didn't have a lot. So 90 votes was a lot. And most of the people voted for Nashville. So then I just kept the ball rolling. I just kept going and trying to like this process. And then I built like a retreat for 17 women, like 17 powerhouse women. I'd never been to a retreat. I'd never hosted a retreat. And 17 women came together in 3 nights, 4 days in Nashville. That was the first time where I could literally see it come into me and me do something with it and it actually come to fruition. And so now I use that experience of when something comes to me. So I also started it's called it was a solopreneurs club. That came to me in the morning. I put it out on LinkedIn. I had 40 people sign up within a day and we did it for 4 or 5 months. So that's the generator spirit in me, right? That's also this idea of even if it fails, even if it goes nowhere, even if I don't make money off of it, there's a reason it's come to me and there's a reason I need to explore and do that, right? And that has all created what I'm currently doing right now, which is building a mastermind community. So these experiences have all helped me build my business to where I'm going now and going into the future. And had I not done those things, had I not allowed me to be like a hell yes to those ideas, I wouldn't have had that door of opportunity, right? I would have closed that door of opportunity for myself. So that generator spirit of allowing things and ideas to come to me and determine what's for me, what's not for me. Do I really want to invest energy and time into this? I've just had so many experiences in my business journey that have come to fruition and been really successful. And that's just how I operate now. I don't try to overthink. I don't try to control the outcomes. I legitimately just allow inspiration to come to me and then I go and do something with that. That's
And you
it.
act, yeah. And that's such a beautiful formula. You allow that inspiration and then you trust yourself and
Yeah.
move forward with action.
Yes.
And that really is a strategy here to enact this gift even more, is to anchor in your self-trust and know that your direction doesn't come from control. It comes from connection, not connection in the outside, but connection in here, inside your soul. Now, one other part on your human design chart is the gates. Now, gates, when we're looking at that body graph, there's little colored in lines and there's longer colored in lines. The little ones are gates, the longer ones are channels. They're both the same thing. They're both gifts that you were born with and characteristics that you can lean into. So this is gate 32, and this mantra is, I have what it takes to have everything I want. So this is from your intuition center, and you have this nose for success, this intuitive ability to sense what will work before it happens. You just know. And you can see the pathway forward, even if it twists and turns, like mountain trails and like how life is, Your strength is in the journey and trusting the process as it unfolds. Now, the cool thing about all these gifts, including gates, channels, centers, everything, is that you get to gift these gifts to other people. You get to show them like, hey, I have this nose for success. I can intuitively see what's going to work out. Let's do it this way. And then you layer on your generator desire of, let's make this better and better and better. It just is this magical way of living and being. And so where might you have doubted this like inner ability of knowing the next step? When have doubts come in with knowing this?
Oh, well, I mean, I've spoken a lot about that in my career.
Yes.
I think it's exactly what you were asking me about others. And when they're feeling stuck in their career,
Yes.
I was in the same space. I had doubts about myself. I couldn't see, what else was out there for me. And by the way, I never thought that I was going to be sitting in a solopreneur seat. Just to kind of go back a little bit, when I left my career, I thought I was moving into corporate. I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to go from being a principal and I'm going to go into like an L&D role or corporate trainer role or something like that. It made sense for me. I was only focused on the money and I was focused on the benefits. I was focused on money, period. And so it just made sense to go from there to there. Well, hundreds of applications, hundreds of rejections. I literally sat back and I was like, what is this telling me? I'm not headed in the right direction. Which is, then I opened up an Etsy store just to keep myself positive. I had like my gift, that's a whole longer story, but basically I watched this video and this video was like, discover your gift. And I closed the computer. I was like, well, what's your gift, Renee? I was like, your gift is to spread love, light, and positive energy. I now know from my human design that my gift is actually, I am meant to go through all of these life experiences in order to teach others that the experience that they're going through are creating their journey to exactly where they need to be as well. So I felt that tension in my career. I lost track again. I felt that tension in my career, but I have not necessarily felt that tension in building my business because I have accepted every twist and turn as a part of the journey that I'm supposed to be on. Because now I'm in a place of building a mastermind community for women who are just like me, who I just have been speaking about, right? I was not clear on where I was supposed to go. I wasn't clear on what I was supposed to do. And so I spent 2.5 years spinning my wheels, trying to figure out what am I supposed to do in this next chapter? Here I am, I have all this flexibility, all this time. Why can't I figure out what I'm supposed to do next? But I needed to go on that whole journey and experience so that I can teach women who are just a little bit further behind, who were me 3 years ago, right? Teach them how to get to where I am today at a much faster rate.
Yes, that is so, yeah, exactly. That is the gift of this. And the strategy really here is try not to let your mind take over.
Yeah.
So this is based in intuition, and intuition is subtle nods, little nudges. It's very subtle, but allow that to become the influence instead of other people. So when we talk about, there's a lot of talk about the ROI in business, right? It's marketing, it's sales, it's performance, it's all those key indexers, all the tangible benchmarks of success. But here on the ROI of peace, we talk about a different kind of return. the peace that sustains it all. So, Renee, when you think about the ROI of peace in your own life with work or personal or professional, wherever it is, where do you feel called to invest in more peace right now?
I feel so at peace. I feel like I am giving myself everything that I've ever needed and wanted. So I often talk about freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. I'm so at peace of knowing that I'm exactly where I need to be, that as long as I keep following my human design, I keep following my intuition, I keep remembering that I'm here for a purpose is to teach others through my own experiences. As long as I stay true to that mission and to that path and to that belief system, and also to believe that there is a higher power at work here, that this has all been designed long before I came into this physical body, to know that I've got all of these beautiful angels and spirit guides out there who are also going to catch me if I fall. Having all of that and knowing all of that makes me feel so much more at peace.
You're anchoring in the knowledge that everything is meant for you. You're not missing anything. You're not lacking in things. Things can be figured out. And as human beings, like things happen and we get off but coming back to that, everything is meant for us. There's no wrong turn. I love that. There's no wrong turn. So, Renee, I know that everybody wants to jump into your world and get connected with you. So tell us how they get involved with you.
Oh gosh. Well, LinkedIn is probably the easiest. So if you go to Coach Renee Devore or just search Renee Devore on LinkedIn, that's the easiest to probably get into my world and in my community. I am exploring other platforms. TikTok right now seems to be the most fun platform, but I think LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. And I've got some really cool stuff that's on the horizon for women that were just like me just a few years ago, trying to explore avenues beyond my career, and stepping into this world of being an entrepreneur. And so now's the time to connect for anybody who's also feeling stuck in their career and might think about wanting to build a business. I'm building a school specifically for women just like me just a few years ago.
We'll have all those links in the show notes. Renee, thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been so magical.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for allowing me to just speak my truth.
It's been amazing. And listeners and our friends thank you so much for being on here. It's been amazing to have this time with you. If you want more time with me, you're going to want to join my mastermind community, and the link is below. And we can spend that time together and really lift each other up, because when peace is a strategy, success becomes sustainable. And as always, keep investing in what really pays off, your peace. We'll see you in the next episode.